All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Women's Empowered Podcast, and I am here with Hippie in the City. Would you like to tell us who you are and what you're about?
Yeah. Hi. I am Elle Army, and I host a podcast called Hippie in the City. I live here in New York City, and I'm always getting into tarot and astrology and meditation and yoga. And I've got my altar at my house, and um, I'm finding that people in New York City need that stuff more than ever. It can get a little devoid of human connection and nature and all the good juju. So I'm trying to bring that here. And I'm also trying to really use this as a platform to connect to people really deeply, because I find that, like, in our crazy fast-paced world and our very digital world, we're not taking the time to really dig deep as much anymore. And I just was really craving it in my own life. So I wanted to start it as a way to be able to get deep and not be like weird at a dinner party.
Absolutely. I'm in Vegas, so it's not as busy, I guess, as New York City. I haven't been there yet, but it can still get pretty busy, especially the closer you get to the
To the
strip.
strip. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it gets a little insane out there. I worked a little bit on the strip. It was my first job, and I was like, I'm a local. I was born here, and the stuff that goes on down there, I was like, I never even thought in my entire life.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like there's a pretty big divide between, like, local Vegas and the strip.
absolutely. Like most of us don't really go down there, and if we do, we've got like our own little passages of like the way we get down there and where we park and where we get out of, because
Yeah.
we basically just sneak in and get out.
Yeah.
Like most of us don't go down there to party. We don't go down there to hang out. It's usually just to show somebody something, or if there's something we want to see. Like me and my little family, we like to go down to like the Bellagio. They always have like
With the
flower
fountains.
arrangements, yeah, for all the different holidays and stuff like that. So we'll go in, sneak in the back way, and then park, go and see the flowers, and then get right back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
New Yorkers with Times Square.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then working there, like I worked security, and you just see people, they're just walking up and down the strip. They're going to parties. They're absolutely intoxicated out of their mind.
How in the world did you work security? You are so cute and little. Like, I feel like the security needed in Vegas is like off the chain.
Well, I'm a pretty tough chick to start off with. I
No shade. I definitely
Yeah.
know you're a tough chick. I'm just saying, like, the
Yeah, no, no,
shenanigans
no.
in Vegas are on another level.
I didn't even like I'm used to it. Like I would get that there too. And um well, I started off in the biker industry.
Mm-hmm.
So once they saw that, and I kind of knew the managers at the place that I was working.
Mm.
In fact, it was really funny when I went in for my interview. I applied to like just about everything down on the strip, because I was just like, I just want to get in. Like, you guys, I'm sure, have amazing benefits. You know, your pay's got to be good. You know, I just want to give it a shot. And they were the first to call me. Then I go into the interview, and it was funny because both of them looked at me and they're like, we know you. And I'm like, well, I've lived here all my life, so let's kind of start from there. And I just started looking around the room, and I was like, you both got motorcycles. Like, I've worked at like almost every bike shop in Vegas.
That's
uh,
amazing.
yeah, and so then we just started basically shooting the shit, and they were just like,
They're
"You're
like,
hired." They're
yeah,
like, they're like, really, all we need is they they hire females to like help with the females.
got it.
Yeah, because they really need like a female to go into like the restrooms and stuff and assist with
Mm.
medical issues, or, you know, an intox female. And it's just a
Yeah,
little easier to have a female
absolutely.
go in there and help with another female.
Yeah, especially if somebody is like drunk or acting rowdy and you have to like touch them or grab them. Like you need a female on your team.
Yeah. Plus, we have that feminine quality, and like we can usually talk and communicate with people a lot different than a male can.
Yeah.
And so that always came in handy, and it was always funny because they sometimes would laugh and they're like, because I would just step in and I would just start talking, and they're like, we don't know how you did it. Like, you know,
you're like, there's like an energy I give off, and it kind of like melds with the other energy, and I kind of like dissipate it, and then I go in, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's funny. But
the funny thing about men is that they can be in tune with the divine feminine too, and I don't mean in like a you know, feminine dress or body, but or anything, but like that female intuition, that divine feminine energy, like they have access to it as well, you know. And I think that shift is going to make all the difference in equality and like a more compassionate world and climate change. I think, well, and I mean any female that isn't directly feeling like connected to it too, not just, you know, gendered males. But
yes, absolutely. There's something there. Like, I don't have the words to like communicate, but exactly that feminine communication, that feminine vibe, and not being so tough and like rigid. Like, I'm gonna shout out to one of my previous guests, Kiki Connects. Like, me and her chatted about this for a while. The older generations, like my grandpa, and even like it started softening up with my dad a little bit, but they still had that rigid expectation of a man. And it's shifting now, but guys in our generation kind of still have it, and like they're kind of like at that little like cusp where they're like teetering. Yeah,
they're like a fork in a road.
Yeah, and we're getting there slowly. We're getting there.
Yeah,
but there's definitely that little bit of fall that they're gonna have to make it over. That's gonna bring us closer together, and it will fix that divide between the genders, like, or you know, whatever you identify as. I'm still learning all of those ins and outs too. Like, I still have to ask questions and stuff because I'm like, I don't know what to say or what to do. But that's also what we have to do. Like, you know,
I think the important thing there is to, even if you feel nervous or scared about what the right terminology is or how people identify, like, to still ask the question, and start really simple. If you feel like you don't want to say the wrong thing or offend, like, you still should inquire about it. And I mean everyone, not just you specifically, but because I think that's where real understanding comes into play. And I think when people get really confused, like, oh my God, there's so many things now. Like, you can be non-binary, you can be queer, you can be trans, you could be a lesbian, but it's like, okay, those are all words and those are all labels. But really what people are talking about is their soul self versus their body. So like, you're born into your body, as we all know. And I think a lot of people identify very greatly with the skin and bones that they're in. But when you can really separate that from your soul self, and I think we can all agree, no matter what religion you are or not, you know, whether you believe in God or any kind of higher power, or if you don't, you can agree that there is some energy source that makes you you. Because honestly, with how many people are in the world, it's getting close to like 7 billion, there's a lot of people that look like me, you know, similar enough, but they're not me. So I think if you can separate those two things, you can kind of start to understand a little bit some of those labels. Like, obviously, if a person is born into a female body, they're born with a uterus, they're born with ovaries, they're born with, you know, the DNA that's going to make them female. But they identify with more of that divine masculine energy, some of that like rigid, really tough, really strong energy. They might identify as male, but if they identify as male, more than likely they will probably think their body isn't what they were born into correctly, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's like a lot of really cool discussions around it. And I even, I'm very ingrained in the queer community, not just in New York, but when I lived in LA, when I was in Chicago, and even in Louisville, Kentucky. I still am learning. I'm still like trying to not put my foot in my mouth and like sound stupid and like, you know, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like everybody just wants to be like seen and heard. So like even if you do put your foot in your mouth, like, you know, it's like anything, I guess. You just have to kind of laugh it off and say like I'm, you know, be
Yeah.
compassionate. Just like lead with compassion. And just hope the other person's not an asshole.
Right? Just
Yeah.
like retract and try and make it better.
Like, I'm just trying. And they're like,
Yeah.
cool, me too, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we need a lot more compassion in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I try to practice it every day because even I've been having this, I don't know if you have been having this lately. I'm hoping it's kind of a larger collective kind of feeling. Not, I'm not alone, but I've been feeling this very much like rage, feminist rage,
Mhm.
where I'm just like, I see how far we've come, and I see, like, even in my marriage, I'm married to a man, for anyone wondering. He's absolutely amazing, and he's like very masculine, but extremely compassionate, and has these really good things that I'm hoping to like bring to the kind of redefining masculinity. I'm kind of hoping to bring some of those qualities to like my conversations. But at the same time, I have this sort of like rage against the man that I can't get rid of. And I have to like calm myself down and go like, look, if I'm expecting him to lead from compassion, I have to as well like try my best to lead from compassion. Cause man, I want to like burn my bra and run through the streets, which I do, but you know, it's a hard feeling to quell sometimes.
Yes, no, I absolutely get it. I get like that sometimes because throughout my life, like I've always felt that I want to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like doing things that aren't necessarily girly things. And it was funny like when I think about my childhood, like my dad was a mechanic, my grandpa was a mechanic. My mom kind of helped my dad out and stuff. Like she would get in and work on the vehicles and stuff, but not as much. My dad taught us like young, me and my sister, to jump in and like we worked on cars with him too and would help and stuff like that. But like as I got older and my brother was born, it felt like we were kind of pushed a little bit to the
Mm-hmm.
side and was like, you know, this isn't so much something girls should do,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then my brother was brought up to work on vehicles and stuff and help my dad out. And I kind of was like mad. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. Like, I enjoy doing that. you know, I don't want to stop.
Yeah.
And like it kind of evened out like a little bit when we got older because I never really took no for an answer. I just kind of like pushed my way through and I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like, or get out of my way, or you know,
What's
deal
your,
with it.
do you know your horoscope? Do you know your sign?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh, so did you just have your birthday? Or
Yeah,
is it coming up?
March 7th.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Oh my God.
Nope.
Did you hear that?
I did, but it's okay. It happens.
Oh my God. Sorry.
It's
Literally
okay.
never happens. Hold on. How do I cancel this? Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. We're all good. So as I got older, like I started having kids and stuff like that, and I got married, and I just kind of like pushed it under the rug. I would still like work on my vehicle, try and do what I can, but it just was what it was until I started getting into the bike shops.
Mm-hmm.
And like it started with just an apparel shop, and I actually started sewing there because my
Oh,
grandma,
cool.
yeah, my grandma on my mom's side, and my mom are both seamstresses. Like my grandma was a seamstress. She taught my mom, and then my mom taught me younger. And then my dad also did upholstery.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was
So,
at I'm a seamstress as well. I was a costume major or minor in college.
oh, there you go. Yeah,
Hmm.
I never pursued it like,
With clothing.
yeah, I never really pursued it like in school or professionally, but like it was just kind of something I did on the side. And then at the bike shop, it just kind of worked out because like one sewer like stopped and I just kind of like took over and started doing sewing patches on and doing repairs and stuff like that. And then I ended up in um, a bigger bike shop working in the parts section and started selling parts and stuff like that. Um, so
That's
I just
cool
kind of
though.
like, yeah, I just kind of made my way, and I've always been on that kind of more of the male dominant industries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I'm a tiny little girl, like I'm only like 110 pounds,
Nice.
I've always been in that, and I've just got a big attitude. So it just kind of works that way.
That's I come from a very, well, it's funny because my mom's side of the family is very female, like literally all females.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Irish redheads, just like coven of witches. And then my dad's side is um very masculine, like super, super male. And I mean, I'm very close with both sides, but
Uh-huh.
my dad's side of the family is all firefighters.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
so, yeah, they all have tattoos and motorcycles. And I actually have my motorcycle's license. I don't have a bike, but I love riding. And um, it's funny because when I'm around them, like, it's like all of these giant men and then like little me. And
Yeah.
I just fit in it. Like, I was a tomboy growing up. I was always outside with my shirt off with my dad, like working in the backyard or just like roughhousing. And Um, I definitely have been like learning my femininity as I get older, but really like respecting that I feel very much both sides, both masculine, female energy. And I just try to, instead of thinking they're like polar opposites or far apart, I just try to realize they're sort of intertwined. Um, but it's definitely a funny thing when you're like really into like things that would be traditionally masculine, sort of like sports or activities or you know artisan crafts or whatever. um
Right.
yeah, I'm really into like building stuff. Like it's how I learn too. I'm like a really terrible at school. I was always way better at like tinkering and like building stuff with my dad, and it's how I was able to like even pass school because he helped me to like learn shit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the exact same way. I have to put my hands on it. I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hardest time like with any kind of book learning. Like I literally have to write it down. Like that's the only way,
Yeah.
either figuring out how to put it together or do something physical with it, or just sitting there and just writing everything out.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I absolutely understand you on that.
Yeah. If I'm just like sitting in a classroom and someone's like talking at me, I need to like be engaged in a full conversation, like write things down and then clarify 4 different times. And then I want to know like why you said that. Like I'm never just like satisfied with like what you're telling me verbatim. I'm like, but
Yes.
how did we get here? And I need to like pick it apart. And I realized as an adult that's like really a really big asset as a personality trait, but like it sucks in school because everyone's like, oh, she's so annoying. And then you're like, you know, you start quieting yourself, or at least I did. I was just sort of like, oh, I'm annoying everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just was like, I guess I'm not good at this. And so I just didn't try because I felt like not supported.
Yes, and that's like a serious problem in this school. Like,
Oh, yes.
I
Look at me.
know.
I'm like, preach.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, in fact, my kids, this is our second year. I have them on an online school, actually. They're not
I
in
was
the regular brick and mortar.
I was going
Um,
to ask about because you mentioned that you have kids, and I was going to
yes.
ask what your view and like execution on school was, because I'm
Yeah.
like my husband and I were trying for a kid, and we're like all we know is we don't want to do what's normal. It's like but we don't have any kind of like idea.
Yeah, well, they were in the regular school system, Clark County School District, for a while, and the online school that they're in is actually a part of the Clark County School District, but the way that they do it in their curriculum is different. Obviously, it's online, but my daughter, she was a learner like me, and she absolutely struggled in regular school, and she has what's called an IEP, where it's assisted learning. She has
Mm-hmm.
some developmental learning issues that we're working on, and it was such a fight with the school to even start something, because I was like, something's going on. Like from early on, I was like, she's not getting it. Like she's
Mm-hmm.
struggling. So we need to do something. And once I finally got them to be like, oh, okay, we need to look at this, then it was a fight to find her help. Like it was just such a struggle. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't understand like why this is so difficult. We had everything from teachers helping too much to not helping enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has like she had problems like focusing in class. And
Mm-hmm.
so like if there was a lot going on, she's a very social person.
Oh my gosh, this is
So
just like me. I had a lot of learning disabilities, and I had assisted learning in multiple different categories throughout my entire school career in grade school, high school, and college. And it was frustrating, I know, for my mom because she felt the same thing. Like the school was just sort of like we care, but like we don't want to do anything because we don't have the like time or resources, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, it was stuff down to memorizing multiplication. Like they changed that in the school system, so now they're like they don't need to memorize multiplication. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, they're like
Yeah.
eventually they'll remember it. I'm like, not everybody will eventually remember it.
Yeah, you're
And
like not setting them up for success.
exactly. And Ocean was having the hardest time
Oh my
remembering.
God, I love that her name is Ocean.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, my one of my dear friends, Theo Moran, she actually is my episode I'm releasing this Thursday.
Uh,
She's my guest, and oh my gosh, she just had a son in December, and we were joking that his name was going to be Atlas or Ocean.
uh,
And both of our husbands are like much more traditional and we're artists, and they were like, no. And we're like, come on, Ocean or Atlas. And I am obsessed that you named your daughter Ocean.
oh, then you got to hear the rest of the name and the rest of my kids' names because
Okay.
that's my Ocean Star. Her middle name is Star. And then I have an Achilles Floyd because my grandpa, his name was Floyd, but and then I have a Layla Phoenix.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Oh my God, Phoenix. I'm a Phoenix. Like I used to say I was like a cockroach, like you couldn't kill me, but now I've changed it to a Phoenix because
That's better than a
it's
cockroach.
way better than a cockroach. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, her middle name actually kind of has a meaning because like when I found out I was pregnant, we went through a really rough time. Like me and my husband, we got really sick, the whole family, actually, except for Ocean. Ocean, we always laugh. She's got the immune system of a goddess or something.
Yeah.
Because we all just got really, really sick and we couldn't figure it out. Like, I get migraines, but it was getting worse. Like, I was losing functioning of like my limbs. Like, I was having trouble holding things. I
Mm,
was starting to like see colors and like I was having like it was like my whole central nervous system was like breaking down.
yeah.
And I just kept getting sicker and sicker. And then my husband was getting sick. Then my son started to get sick. My dog, like, I had to rush her to the emergency room. She was like throwing up blood. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why? We found mold in our apartment.
Oh,
And yeah, and like our entire family was basically on the verge of dying from mold. Except for Ocean. Ocean was perfectly fine.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so like in the midst of all of this, like we found it, we like went to the hospital and we had to like start filing. We basically lost everything because we had to leave everything. We couldn't take anything. The apartments that we lived in, like we told them thinking, that's the first step. Like I'm like I got to notify the apartments.
Hmm.
They came in and took the piece of moldy drywall that had um, grown. It was in our closet
Hmm.
because of the water heaters from the upstairs neighbors had burst and it went down that wall, and
Yeah.
ours had burst, which just inflamed what was there. And like they had never cleaned the walls, they had never taken care of the walls, they had never treated the walls, and so it just went crazy. And they went and cut it out and then carried it through our entire house. And so I'm like, whatever wasn't contaminated before is now
You
completely
just got, yeah.
contaminated. Yeah, and so we ended up losing everything and finding out I'm pregnant all at the same time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so like Philip had said, like a few months later after we started getting on our feet and everything like that, and the baby's growing, she's healthy, everything's working. We started like talking about names, and he had always wanted Layla, which I was like, that works. Like I like it because I have an Ocean and an Achilles, which are
Hmm.
my two Led Zeppelin songs, Ocean
Nice.
Song and Achilles Last Stand. And then I was like, we can have an Eric Clapton then.
Cute. Yes.
So like each of them have their own little songs.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. And then he was like, well, for a middle name, and we thought about it and thought about it for months until she was almost here. And he was like, what about Phoenix? Because like she's kind of like our Phoenix. Like we rose from the ashes.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it's our little story.
She's your silver lining.
Exactly. So that's I haven't talked about that on the air yet.
Well, there you go.
There you go. You brought it out of me.
Just takes another podcaster to bring
Right?
out a story.
Exactly. So that's basically where I came from. That was, she's now going to be 3. So that was almost 3 years ago that had happened. So we've stabilized. We haven't been able to replace everything because, I mean, I had everything. There were baby blankets and
Mm,
sentimental things that, like, I mean, we had to leave everything.
I'm so sorry.
It happens, and we're rebuilding. We've got all of us. The only one that didn't survive, unfortunately, was my cat. She
Oh,
was, yeah, she was too little, and um, we couldn't save her. But she had lived a long, healthy life before that. So,
yeah.
but now we're here, and I started this podcast, and
Which is no easy feat. I know more than anyone. So you are amazing. And I thank you for starting it and putting yourself out there because we need more people doing
thank
it.
you. Yeah, it kind of just was like I was staying at home, being a stay-at-home mom after my security gig, and Philip
After
had,
after kicking ass on the strip.
yeah, after that. So I was staying at home with the kids, and Philip, he's always doing amazing adventures. Like, he's always got like 50 million little side projects going on. He had started a podcast, and he was like, "You should really start one." And I'm like, "I have no idea what I would do." So I came across an article about how rape victims usually have to give up their clothes for evidence.
Mm.
And I was like, and they have to kind of scramble to kind of replace those items and just to even leave the hospital.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, I mean, if you're giving up your clothes you came in, what do you leave in?
Yeah. In this article, it said it was talking about a group in California, Denver, and another one in like central US have a program. 2 of them were started by like moms, and the other one in California is actually pretty big. They've been able to supply most of the hospitals with like little care packages for them
Mm.
that has like replacement clothes and some personal hygiene stuff so they can take care of themselves there at the hospital before they leave. And that kind of like hit a nerve with me. So I was like, I was like, what if I do something that I can eventually do something like that?
Yeah, to give back. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where I started with this. And um there's like a few little aspects that came into this. The other part is my husband bought me a women's empowered DVD set that's by the Gracie family in jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
And these DVD sets, they teach women how to defend themselves and protect themselves from every situation they possibly could come up. They worked with the police system and figured out different ways, both from like an aspect of somebody
Mm-hmm.
attacking you and a stranger attacking you. And they use jujitsu, which I don't know if you're familiar with jujitsu, but
Yeah.
it's actually made for people that are smaller.
Yeah, to be able to get the correct holds. Yeah.
Yes, and to
To
use
overpower.
leverage
Yeah.
and stuff. Yes. And so that kind of threw in the mix with this whole podcast is I was like, this was such an empowering thing. And, we're all empowered in our own ways.
Yeah.
And, I was like, if I reach out and like talk to other women and get their stories and put it out there of where we're coming from, and we can help people.
Yeah, like connecting the dots and just sort of like seeing where we're similar and where we can learn from one another in just one conversation, and then put it out there so that other people can in their own time listen and hopefully feel the same thing, or even feel inspired to do something for themselves in their own life, whether it's start a podcast or just like wear a funky shirt to work, just like pushing yourself like in any way you can to be a little more authentic and a little more yourself. And I think that what you're doing is amazing. And I think it's like exactly in line with what I'm trying to do as well. Same but different.
Yes.
And I really like your badass like history or your story, because I think it's really good for people to know that, like, or not just people, but for women specifically, that you don't have to be tall, or you don't have to be like any kind of stature to like be strong and protect yourself and like be smart, because it's just more of like feeling comfortable for yourself than actually needing, hopefully you never need to use that jujitsu. Hopefully you never are in a compromising situation, but just the peace of mind that comes with having the skills is like amazing. It's like, I wish I had a better word than amazing. I keep saying it. It's like, it's how I feel. I'm just like, it's so.
I have yet to find a better word. I use amazing all the time.
It's when you get in these really kind of conversations where we're, synchronicity, we're just like vibing. It's like that's all I can think about, because I'm just so excited. I'm just like, it's amazing.
Right. Absolutely. And I didn't learn or start getting into jujitsu until this year. And like we've got our girls learning it, we've got our son learning it, because it's so important to learn self-defense. Like I remember when I was younger, like in high school and stuff, and I thought I, was a little badass, and I held my own ground so many times. But when I was going through these videos, like a few of the positions, it triggered me, because I was like, these were things that were used against me before. And if I had only known this little bit, like, I can't believe it was so easy, but I didn't know it. And so, yeah, most definitely, it's amazing.
Is there like a mental or spiritual aspect to the jiu-jitsu at all, or is it purely technical?
No, they go through, the Gracies have actually done a lot of amazing work with this. They have, like, in each set, they go through a mindful minute where they talk about it. And they're also working to build your confidence and build your awareness, and letting you know, because I think as females, especially if you're grew up with the older generation, like getting back to our first conversation, like there were things that men did and the way that they acted towards women that is not okay.
Yeah.
And we're working to let them know that those approaches, those things are not okay. And the Gracies actually, they do a lot of work in those mindful minutes, and even just throughout the entire video, where they explain to you and let you know, you do get this upset feeling when a guy approaches you wrong. Like, one of the first lessons is she's on the ground, sitting on the ground, and if somebody approaches you standing and they're close to you, you get this alert feeling in your body, and you know that they're encroaching on your space.
Yeah, they're intimidating you. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a tactic that they're using, and it's okay to let them know that they are not supposed to be there. And you have a right to stand up for yourself, and you have a right to defend yourself, that if they do not respond to you in the way that you want them to and they don't back off, it is your right to protect yourself and handle yourself and do what you need to do to get away. Which I think is amazing, because there were some older programs for self-defense for women, you know, the let go of my purse and stuff like that, you know. But like, there was a time where I even remember like talking about if somebody like was trying to assault you or something, it's just easier to stop fighting and, you know, let it be whatever's going to happen and get away safe in the end. But, you know, with this jujitsu, like, you know, you don't have to let it happen.
Yeah.
And take control of the situation. You can handle it. You can hurt them if you need to, and you can get away.
I think it's really important to note the difference between like letting it happen and getting away, quote unquote, safe versus being able to stand up for yourself, because the amount of emotional trauma that happens, whether, like you said, it's just someone who's sort of, you know, intimidating you, you know, with something like standing over you at the park and kind of, you know, harassing you that way, or saying negative things, or if it's even worse, you know, where they're sexually abusing you or anything like that, the amount of emotional trauma that anyone that's a victim of that has to deal with is so deep and so complex, and it's so hard to heal. Whereas like if you are able to stand up for yourself in that physical confrontation, set verbal boundaries, like, or just know, like you said, the feeling that happens, if you can kind of just remove yourself from that situation before anything happens. Yes. Like, it's so important, because, I mean, for the most part, men are just physically stronger than women, you know, and that's not, I mean, that's not every case, but that's a lot of them. And it's like, you know, not surprising that we haven't been taught good self-defense, because there haven't been a lot of good females out there that were strong enough and empowered enough to like teach us. So I think that's really cool. And I think it's amazing that you're also making sure to teach your son and your daughters kind of at the same time, because then that's a very important way for them to grow up on a more similar playing field and like understanding of one another.
Yes.
It's like, you know, thinking about sending girls off to go do girl things or boys off to go do boy things. It's like, okay, there's time for that, you know, like certainly, you know, but it doesn't all need to be so integrated. But for something like basic self-defense or basic kind of like mental, spiritual health, they all should be learning on the same level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not so much, I'm never with the boy stuff and the girl stuff. I don't know. I just kind of dropped it off. I'm like, no, everybody's the same level. And I mean, there's always, you know, going back to that feminine touch, there's always, you know, that difference.
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something that guys can't learn.
Yeah, totally. And they need to. I mean, they really need to. And I think, like we were talking about earlier with um, our generation of men being even better, just like we've, improved from our moms, like
Hmm.
I think our awareness of the feminist movement and of being empowered women who are also still mothers and wives, like I think we're realizing you don't have to choose. It's not like, oh, I'm a feminist, um, or I'm a wife and a mother.
Hmm.
And I think us raising sons and daughters is going to make all the difference because,
Absolutely.
yeah, it just, I mean, there's going to be people that do it do it how they want, and that's fine. Like,
Yes.
um, but the imprint I want to leave, um, as a mom is that you can do the same things a boy can do, and a boy can do the same things a girl can do. It just takes work, like anything, like
Hmm.
the like if you would like to be more compassionate and understanding and have some more of that like unspoken intuition as a biological male, we can work on that. If you want to be more strong and rough and tumble and like stick up for yourself and good at fighting as like a biological female, we can work on that, so
Yes.
I think it's gonna make a major shift, in the kids that we're raising.
Absolutely. And it's awesome. So, do you have any tips and tricks you use to reset yourself, like when you've had a hard day or?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I try to switch it up a little bit because I have really bad ADHD, so I can get really lazy or really kind of distracted with it. But I would say, whenever I feel really tight in my chest, whether that's from like the rage I was talking about, or I get really bad anxiety. Um, like today, for instance, I waited a little too long to eat lunch and I was shaky, and um, my husband wouldn't stop talking about the coronavirus, and I almost had a panic attack, and I just said, I need a minute. Can you keep walking? And so I sat down. I always sit down. I take like 3 really big deep breaths, like really big, like let it fill up my belly in through my nose, out through my mouth. I do that 3 times. And I uncross my legs so my feet are both flat on the ground, and I put my hands flat next to me on like the bench or chair, so that I know that I'm grounded. I'm feeling the surface under my hands. I'm feeling my feet are level, and I just really try to put myself in the present moment. Um, Really, it seems, I guess, kind of really simple or rudimentary, but it helps so much for you to feel like you're just like a part of the earth. You're not going to fall apart. You're not going to explode. Also, I've also realized it's not necessarily the situation that's making me anxious. It's my perspective on the situation. So
Yes.
I'm anxious or I'm upset. Therefore, I can only see that in everything that's happening around me. So that would be one tip or trick is deep breaths, sitting and feeling grounded. And then I really like to do um, like spell work. So it sounds a little hippy dippy, but that is who I am and the name of my podcast. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I have a couple crystals that I really like that I'll lay out. I sit with a pillow. I have a low table, put the crystals out, and I light a candle or I do some sage. Um, and I really try to pick something that I need to focus on. So it's really just a really intricate way to manifest.
Hmm.
Um, it's not like, with a wand and like broomstick, although
Oh, Harry Potter.
there's time and place for that as well. But after a long day, I definitely will pick some really calming stones. So like citrine quartz is really calming. Any quartz really. Tourmaline is really nice. And then agate is really good too. And then kyanite, that's my favorite. It's like a light blue kind of marble looking stone, kyanite.
Mm-hmm.
And I really try to focus on 3 positive things in my life, gratitude, and then I move through that to the thing that I want to pull into my life. So I started when I first started doing this work, I was really doing really big goals, like
Yeah.
I want to be in a blockbuster movie, I want to be a famous actress, like really abstract but large goals. And now I've really started to do stuff that's more specific and attainable so that I can see some of the fruits of my manifestation, and then I get excited, and then I vibrate a little higher, and taking a higher vibration into anything you do is just good
Yeah.
juju. Yeah, because we all know when we feel down, when we feel depressed or anxious or overwhelmed, we feel heavy, everything like looks gray, everybody annoys us, like
Mm-hmm.
everything hurts, you don't want to do anything. And I have been there so many times in my life where it was just really dismal, like um, and I try to do this kind of work every day so that I don't get there, and like I don't even get close to there anymore. um, I really try. Even on my worst day now, it's like doesn't even come close to being that bad, you know?
That's good. That's very good. Like, we do need to get into that higher. I've never really thought of it that way though, into like that higher vibration. But now that you talk about it, it does make a lot of sense, and like I can I can visualize it. I get it. Yes.
Yeah, it's like when people say I'm high on life or something like that. It's like how can you make that a process and a practice in your life to make that more of your norm, more of your normal state of being, because the really high and the really low lows, like it's just impossible to be swinging back and forth between the two, um, because even in that, when you're like manically high, you can't really be present enough to like connect with other people,
Mm-hmm.
you know um, and so I've really tried my best to steady myself in like how I actually vibrate, like my energy center, because I'm a very excitable person. um, I have a lot of energy, and sometimes that means I'm really electric and charming, and sometimes that means I'm like an anxious, shaking chihuahua in the corner.
Yeah.
So if I can kind of meet in the middle as much as I can, then I just lead a much happier life. And I'm trying to put that work out there with my podcast, and the people I talk to, so people know that it's attainable. It's work, but it's attainable.
Absolutely. And I kind of absolutely feel you because I mean, I went through that whole, I mean, it was pretty dark for me going through that whole mold situation and everything. Like, I got really ugly because I was really upset. Like, I had lost so much. Like, to me, it was like everything that I had had, forever. was now gone.
Yeah.
And so like I had gotten really dark and really depressed, and it's something that's really, really hard to get out of. Like, when I think about it, like, have you ever seen the movie When Dreams May Come?
Mm-mm.
No, it's a Robin Williams movie.
Oh,
But
I have to go watch it.
It's not his normal movie. Like, it's
I
really,
love weird movies. Well, I love weird shit. I love weird
yeah.
anything. So
This one gets a little
dreams come.
dark, like it gets a little heavy, but
Okay.
you can absolutely find it. I found it on Amazon. I actually have it in my video library. My husband hates when I watch it because it's like I don't cry during movies. Like, I'm a straight beast. I do not cry during movies. I usually don't like girl
You're a
movies.
Pisces. You're supposed to cry more often.
I do when it comes to things like when I get emotional, when I get
Okay.
upset, when it's something personal.
Don't push it down. Let your
Yeah.
emotions flow over you.
Yeah. But when it comes to like movies, not so much. Like, and I'm not really a mushy movie kind of person. Like, I like horror movies, I like action movies.
Yeah.
I can't sit during like emotional movies because I'm like, whatever. Like, it's just not my thing. Which is, I guess is funny because I am actually very emotional, but I've got that tough, rigid, like, structuredness about me, I guess.
To protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that one gets me because, like, the wife gets into such a dark place. And so that's kind of how I think of depression is you got to watch that movie because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah, I do.
But where she gets is such a dark place. And I think sometimes it takes people to pull you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, but getting to that, like, that higher vibration, like, that you're speaking of, it's a nice thing to think of. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna work on that by the way you described it, because like now I'm like examining myself and I'm like, I definitely do get to that lower vibration and you get stuck there. It's like muddy and gunky and like it pulls you down and like it's harder to like strike that tone back up to get you back to that higher vibration.
Yeah. There's like a couple I like to describe them as like portals because I think sometimes when you can think like about vibrating higher and that seems weird or it seems unattainable or it seems hokey or stuff like that, but it's accessible to everyone no matter your age, your race, your socioeconomic situation, your gender, I mean anything. Like you can very easily, no matter where you are, stop, put your feet on the ground, put your hands either side of your legs, take deep breaths, and like it's just a good start. I mean, there's like a lot more to dive into, but if you think about it, where like every cell and every molecule in your body like is moving, right? Like it's moving around, so there is a kinesthetic energy to it. Like we give off energy. Like we just have to. I mean, our heart beats by itself. We breathe all day long. Like that's motion, which gives off a kinesthetic energy. And so if you can kind of put those back in sync, if you can kind of get your energy centers to kind of vibrate on the same frequency, even for a moment, like you're in control of that. And I think we most often feel out of control, which is why we feel depressed or anxious or anything else. So if you can just use that little bit of magic and go like in it and pay attention to it enough to like let it make you excited and happy that you just fucking did that, it's gonna start multiplying,
Yes, absolutely. Is there any books that you're reading right now? Or are you a big reader?
I am a big reader. Yes, I always have a lot of books. I just finished Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. It's a wonderful book, especially for women. She definitely talks about it with a very female voice. and it's very she's very poetic in her writing, but it is about creative living beyond fear. So just using not using fear as an excuse to not be creative, and it gives, I think, a lot of artists or people that don't define themselves as artists, it really gives you a nice framework to still live a creative life, even if it's not your moneymaker, even if you're not going to be a big star someday, that like that's sort of not the point. And we need more creators out there, whether it's writing or painting or podcasting or anything like that. So Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And then I finished the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy by Kevin Kwan. It's so good. It's so cute. It's so funny. But it's an easy read. I try to switch between fiction and nonfiction because I read a lot of nonfiction. Mm-hmm. And sometimes my brain will go further than like my body's ready to go. So sometimes I'll just be taking in all this information, nonfiction, memoirs, history, like self-help, whatever. And I will just like exhaust myself. Like I'll almost physically be exhausted from reading. So I have to lighten it up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And it's good to have like I found having like just something to like kind of turn your brain off but still give it food.
Yes. Like, yeah, what are you using the reading for? Are you using it to like learn, research, grow, or are you just using it for fun and a hobby and something to like
Yeah, I like to tend to bounce back between something fun for my brain and then something that I'm learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. Do you have any women you look up to that empowered you?
Oh my gosh, so many. I don't think I would be, I know I wouldn't be even half the woman that I am without all of the women in my life. My mom is a fierce, badass woman. She's doesn't take shit from anybody, even to her own detriment, I'm sure. But she's wonderful. And then she has 4 sisters, and they are all so strong and independent. And they were all born in the 40s, 50s, 60s. So like they really had to go through, the feminist movement in a way that I don't think that we had to. And so really trying to hold space for them, for what they went through so that we could be where we are, not taking that for granted has been something I've been trying to work on. And then my sister and then cousin. So I told you I have a lot of women in my life, and all of those, my mom's sisters all had daughters, and so we all call ourselves sister cousins. We're like extremely close. We text every single day in our chat, and I mean, we are such a good support group for each other because you need a support group as a female. Just talking about starting our own businesses, thinking about becoming moms, thinking about becoming wives, like just anything that's sort of like frustrating you. But I don't think that we in society have been taught how to confront our anger or any of these like tough emotions. Like we're just supposed to like be nice, Mm-hmm. And so I think we really help each other to understand why we're upset or why we're angry or why we feel victimized, and then can react to it. Because if you just shove it down, that's not helping you or anyone else. So all the women in my life, and then I think I want to pick one celebrity just because, like, so people know who I love. I'm gonna pick Jada Pinkett Smith as my Will Smith's wife.
Okay, I was like, I don't even know if I know who that is.
Okay, well, you need to go look her up after this because she's such a fierce female. She's a Virgo like I am, which I love, and she is like unapologetically honest and caring and compassionate, but she really asks people tough questions. Like, she's not scared to go there. And she's also not scared about being like a hot mom in her 50s, you know? And I really respect that because she's like, I'm still a woman. Like, just because I'm a mom and a wife, like, you know?
Right?
So
Yeah.
I just like have to look up to people like that because I always want to still be myself in all of the roles that we continue to take on as women, because I think that's the thing about being a woman is that you just don't get rid of your hats, you know, like you just keep adding them. Like, we forget to get rid of any of the hats we wear. So I always try to look up to people that are reminding themselves like they're still beautiful at whatever age, they're still hot, they're still, you know.
Yes, most definitely. I like that. Tell us about a time that you felt most empowered.
Well, I guess that would depend on my definition of empowered, but I guess in a kind of a deep but subtle empowering moment would be so I'm sober, and I go to AA, and my first sponsee, so the first girl that I sponsored, was one of my proudest and most empowering moments. And it was funny because I felt like I felt like a superhero, but I really wanted to try not to give in to that feeling, because I don't think that would be serving her very well if I was in my ego so much, thinking I was awesome. So I really, I think, felt the most empowered when I put that superhero feeling in my back pocket. You know, I didn't deny it. I saw it and I said, okay, I'll get back to you later. I need to be here for this woman, and I need to listen to her, and I need to be present. I think that was the most empowered that I ever felt, was being able to take my emotion in a real moment and like put it on the back burner just to be there for someone else. I think that is an act of true compassion, which is really hard to do.
Yes, this is not very easy to do at all. And it's awesome that you were able to do that and that you work and help people. That's awesome. Being a sponsor, being in the AA, you know,
Mm-hmm. It's
for that.
it's awesome, to say the least. It's given me more than I could ever have hoped, and it helps me. I don't think I'd be able to put this podcast together if I wasn't in it, and I think people that haven't experienced anything like it, like support group, or maybe some people feel this way in their church, you know, just like very supported by community and faith. I don't even mean about the alcoholic part, but just that sense of community and faith and spirituality, and being just open and vulnerable without expectation. You're not there to say something, to prove anything, to be a victim, to be a helper. I mean, it just sort of is what it is. And it's given me so many tools to go out in the world and be honest and vulnerable without expectation, in a way that is like responsible, because I think before being in this program, like I was very comfortable being honest and vulnerable, but I left myself too vulnerable, taken advantage of. And so it's given me a lot of tools how to like do that, but set some good boundaries.
Absolutely. And it's awesome that the AA program is an awesome thing. Like, there are so many different kind of community things, and all community things are awesome, and just learning boundaries are hard. Like,
It's so hard.
I've just barely started learning, how to set some of these boundaries and stuff like that. And even I think as women, sometimes like you have to learn that you're allowed to set these boundaries and allow yourself to know that you can set these boundaries. And
first, before you even set them, give yourself the permission to set them.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, because I think sometimes we wait for others to give us the permission, because in so many aspects, and it sounds ridiculous, and it really does. Like, now that I'm older, I'm like, what was I doing? Like, why did I wait for their permission? Like, it's not theirs, it's mine. But I think that's something that like we have to work on teaching, like, is that it is our permission that we need, and we do have the rights, and these are our rights, and we can set these boundaries. But so it's taking me a long time, but
me too, sister. It's a progress, not perfection. That's what we say in AA. So if we're always striving for progress and not perfection, then we're doing okay. It's when you flip it, then you're like screwed, because there's no such thing as perfect.
There's no perfection. Yes, exactly. And it's better just to do and to start and to keep rolling. Absolutely. Do you have any words of advice for a younger generation?
Oh my goodness. Do I ever? For younger generation, well, it's like, where do I begin? Well, I think teenagers are really hard. So I would say since this is the Women Empowered podcast, I will speak to women, young women. I think to really realize that everything you're going through and feeling as a teenager, I guess this could go for boys too, it is hormonal. It is so much change that if you just hang in there, everything on the other side is calmer, it's fine, it's better, it's fun. And I think whether you're, whatever kind of kid you are, whether you're high on the food chain or low on the food chain in high school, it's all going to get better. And your purpose is, somewhere out there, and you will find it, or it will find you more than actually you will find it. So if you just hang on through that crazy time, talk to someone, talk to your friends, talk to your mom, reach out to some of your idols on Instagram. Like, there's so many ways for connection that I think some of the high emotions and high anxiety and pressure that teenagers have to deal with is really stressful, and just hang in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You will get through it.
Yes, get through it, and you can't skip over it. You can't go under it. You have to go through it. We all had to go through it, and we're better for it.
Absolutely. All right, my last question is an inspirational quote. Do you have an inspirational quote you use?
Oh my gosh. I also have a ton of inspirational quotes. I use I actually have a highlight on my Instagram that's just for quotes. So, because I also have a terrible memory, so I like catalog everything. I feel like my Instagram is more for me to remember stuff than it is for like people to enjoy. Um, Favorite quote? Well, I love any quote by the Dalai Lama. He is one of my favorite teachers of this lifetime generation. And his quotes are usually all pertain to kindness. I mean, there's so many, they're not all about kindness, but most of them are that when in doubt, be kind to yourself, to others, and always to start every day with a meditation. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wish I had one right off the bat, but seriously, if you Google Dalai Lama quotes, like just pick any of those, and I've got a couple of them on my bathroom mirror that I look at every day. I should know them.
It's all right. All right. Well, you've been a wonderful guest, and that concludes our podcast. And I will be around to visit you sometime soon.
All right. Thank you very much. I had
Thank
such a
you.
wonderful time today.
All right.